Hey guys, how are you? What's up? I am Rachel, proud founder and creator of Seyopa, Seize Your Passion. And I'm here live from our Facebook group, Seize Your Passion, every Friday afternoon at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Sharing with you guys my thoughts out loud, what I've been thinking about this week, some insights, some lessons, some growth that I've had, hopefully as a way to inspire you to think about your growth, your inspiration, your insights, on your journey to seize your passion, to become your best self and realize all of your dreams. So this week, what I want to talk about is this notion, this question that I don't think we ask ourselves, but it's oftentimes a driving force for what we do and how we do it. And that is the question of, what have I got to prove, right? I think oftentimes we ask ourselves, what have I got to lose, right? When we're making decisions, when we're thinking about starting something new, making a change, anything significant, we want to assess the risk. And that's a great question to ask ourselves. What have I got to lose? Because that is a way to assess the risk involved, to ask ourselves, what am I scared of? What have I got to lose? Meaning, what in fact can I lose? What am I scared of that will happen specifically? So it's defining that, articulating that so that we can better understand it to help us make that decision, right? What have I got to lose? But we don't often ask ourselves, at least I, never really put it in those terms for myself, what have I got to prove? And yet what I realized fairly recently is that, proving something has been such a core driver for me for a really long time of, why I want to achieve all the goals I want to achieve, of why I'm so persistent and passionate about going out there and realizing my dreams and achieving all those goals. And I think for a lot of us, that is the case as well. For a lot of you guys, maybe, if you really think about it, take an everyday example of, if someone says to you, you can't do that. It's almost like a natural instinct to say, well, hell yeah, I can. And now I'm going to prove to you how much I can. So it gives you that extra motivation and that extra drive to go out and prove that you, in fact, can do that, right? And when I was thinking about this concept for myself, it's not as much proving something to others, as in the example I just gave you, right? Someone says to you, you can't do something, you're not good enough, or it's impossible. It almost gives you that extra motivation to prove them wrong, so you have something to prove to them. But for me, I realized that a big part of how I thought about what and why realizing your dreams and becoming your best self and manifesting your personal legend and everything that Seize Your Passion is about, right? Going out there and becoming your best self and making all your dreams come true. A big part of that for me was proving something, not necessarily to others, although for sure that's part of it, but really a big part of it was proving something to myself, And again, I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing, because it is a great motivator, temporarily. And I think motivation and inspiration are two different things. They're obviously connected, but motivation is more temporary in the moment, like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then, what prevents you from being consistent with that and persistent and continuing with that same motivation, even through the challenges and tough times and over time and being patient with it, that's the difference between motivation and inspiration. And so, again, that concept of proving something, not only to others, but to yourself, it's a great motivator sometimes, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It becomes dangerous when it becomes your main driver and your main big why. Why are you doing this? And I realized recently that I had allowed that to happen, that it had become my main driver, my sole motivation for why I not only want to, but I need to go out there and realize all my dreams and manifest my vision and become my best self and everything, again, that Seize Your Passion is about in my own life, right? And when it turns into that's the sole reason, that's the main driver, when it takes over like that in this ego-driven way where you forget about the real reasons behind why you want to realize your dreams and become your best self, which have nothing to do with ego, have nothing to do with proving something to anyone else, including yourself. It gets dangerous because now you're constantly thinking about every decision you make, every step you take on that journey to realize your dreams and become your best self and build that vision and create what you want to create and create your life of your dreams. The metric becomes, am I going to prove this? Am I going to be good enough? Am I going to prove this to whoever else you think you need to prove it to? Or most likely, it's really ultimately yourself. You want to prove to yourself, I am capable. I am smart enough. I am good enough. I am strong enough. I am resilient enough. I am smart enough. I am beautiful enough, inside, outside. All those insecurities and fears that we all have, again, flipping that and using it as a motivator of, you're saying I can't do this, even if you're saying it to yourself. Watch me, I'm going to prove to you that I can. That's a great motivator. But again, it's dangerous because it is ego driven ultimately. And when you feed into that too much, that it becomes your sole driver, your main why, again, it becomes a metric for every step you take along the way, which isn't authentic. It isn't. And that isn't authentic to what realizing your dreams and becoming your best is about. Because the real big why behind seizing your passion and realizing your dreams and becoming your best self is because it was what you were meant to do. It is the reason you are alive. It's not about proving anything to anyone or to yourself. It's not about your ego. And it's certainly not about risks and what can I lose here, which is a question we often ask ourselves, right? It should not be driven by fear. It should not be driven by risk. It should not be driven by ego proving, assuring motives. It is driven by because it is who you are meant to be. It is why you are alive. We each have a personal legend to manifest. We each have a calling. We each have things that bring out the best in us, that bring out the magic in us, not the madness. When you think about using that concept of I'm going to prove something to others or to myself, the metric becomes about it is bringing out the madness in you, because again, it's you're moving away from the very essence of what truly becoming your best self is, and you're calling to proving something, which again is ego driven. So the real big why, and it's so important to remember this as your driving force. And I'm not saying to discard using that proving something as a motivator, because it is great. And sometimes, the fact that someone else, or that we even say to ourselves, I'm not sure you can do that, or you can't do that. That does give us that extra push and that motivation to prove them wrong or to prove ourselves wrong. And that's fine, again, as long as it doesn't overconsume and become your main driver. Because the real main driver and the big why behind, anything that has to do with seizing your passion, realizing your dreams, and becoming your best self is because you were meant to do that. Those are the things, those are the people that bring you alive, that bring out the best in you, that bring out the magic in you, not the madness, again. So it was just, again, a reminder, and a self-awareness check, because for a long time now, I hadn't realized how consuming that proving something to myself more than anything else was for me. And again, that doesn't necessarily bring out the magic in me and the best in me, and it doesn't necessarily bring out the true inspiration that allows that longevity of persistence and passion and determination and grit, and in a way that's not sort of anti-flow, and not resistance and not fighting, but more you're doing what you were meant to do. You're being who you were meant to be and become. That is the main driver. So, and it's a great metric, again, to, whatever you're doing, whoever you're surrounding yourself with, ask yourself, does this person or does this thing that I'm doing, whether it's your career, your job, or a hobby, or whatever the case may be, does this bring out the best in me? Do I feel my most natural self? Do I feel alive? Do I feel like I'm just in my own skin the way I was meant to be? Do I feel like all the magic and gifts and talents and all those things that I want to prove to myself that I have doubts about, because we all have self-doubt and insecurities, that I am beautiful, that I am smart, that I am talented, that I am capable of fulfilling my full potential? Those things and those people that you surround yourself with, you'll feel that. You'll feel like, yeah, this is doing it for me. This is where I'm at my best. And that's your sweet spot. That's what realizing your dreams and seizing your passion and discovering your passion, maybe, or uncovering it, as I like to say, because it's in you already and you know it. That's what it's about. So it's just, again, another important reminder to be mindful of, to think about, what is your main driver? Because seizing your passion ultimately is not about proving anything to anyone, including yourself. It's not, and I, again, for a long time, that was my main driver, and I didn't even realize it, so yeah. So what have you got to prove? Absolutely nothing. And what have you got to lose? Absolutely nothing. Because realizing your dreams and becoming your best self is what you were meant to do, and it's the reason you're alive. It's just you falling into what was meant to be and why you're here. It's the easiest, most natural thing, and yet it's not. So that's my my thoughts for the week, my talk for the week. Something to think about. Hopefully it inspires you, makes you think in some new way. And as always, go out there and do more of what you love and be more of who you love. That is a surefire way to realize all your dreams and become your best self and seize your passion. I'll see you guys next week. Have a great weekend, guys. Bye.